Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Melanie Cassar, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Warrant Officer Class 1, Kim Owen. We warmly welcome the family of Private Peter Tebb, whose story will be told shortly. We are honoured to acknowledge the members of D and E Platoon and veterans of the Vietnam War and their families who are attending the ceremony. We thank you for your service. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by family and visitors to the memorial. If you are able, please stand and join in singing the national anthem. If able, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where family and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Private Peter Tebb. Peter Tebb was born on the 13th of November 1950 in St George, southwest Queensland, the first of two children and the only son born to John and Agnes Tebb. Known by his nickname Tebb, Tebb grew up on the family property of Outlands Farm, a 320-acre market garden and citrus orchard. He was known for his happy, adventurous nature and for being fiercely protective of his younger sister, Paula. Tebb attended St George Primary School and St George High School. He excelled at athletics and rugby league, representing the school, region and the state in those and other sports. He also excelled at woodwork and art and became a school prefect in his final year. He also enjoyed sketching and fishing. In 1964, Tebb's father passed away, devastating the family. Paddy, as he was known, was remembered as having been a wonderful father with sound principles and someone who led by example. While keeping up with his schoolwork, Peter continued to help on the farm and run the family's fruit and vegetable shop. He became an A-grade rugby league player, representing his local team, the St George Dragons, and was a member of the 1969 Premiership winning side. Tebb enlisted in the Australian Regular Army on the 3rd of February 1970 for a period of 6 years. At the time of his enlistment, the Army was offering apprenticeships to soldiers who had completed active service. This appealed to Tebb, who wanted to become a diesel mechanic as an extra trade after he inherited the farm. He completed basic training with the 1st Recruit Training Battalion at Kapooka and undertook infantry training at Singleton, qualifying as a rifleman in early July. He remained at the Infantry Centre in Singleton until November, when he was posted as a reinforcement to South Vietnam. Initially destined for the 4th Battalion Royal Australian Regiment, Tebb had a place in the New South Wales Army football team for the Premiership game, which kept him in Australia for a little longer. When Tebb arrived in South Vietnam on the 26th of November 1970, he was initially taken on strength of 1 Australian Reinforcement Unit at Nui Dat and completed several weeks of jungle training and base duties. He joined 7 RAR on the 18th of December and was almost immediately sent out on operations. When 7 RAR left Vietnam in late February 1971, Tebb returned to 1 ARU. On the 27th of March, he joined Headquarters 1st Australian Task Force and was assigned to the Defence and Employment Platoon. Australia was in the process of winding down its commitment to the Vietnam War, and forces were being withdrawn from South Vietnam. In May, D&E Platoon was sent to Courtenay Hill, located in the Courtenay rubber plantation, which straddled the borders of Phuoc Tuy and Long Can provinces. The platoon was employed on a variety of tasks, including the construction of overhead protective shelters, providing infantry protection and conducting patrols. In early June, Operation Overlord was launched in an attempt to destroy North Vietnamese Army and Viet Cong units, threatening the security of Phuoc Tuy and the ongoing drawdown of Australian personnel. D&E Platoon was involved in reconnaissance, in-force patrols, along with the armoured personnel carriers from A Squadron 3 Cavalry Regiment. A major battle took place on the 7th of June, which saw units from 1 ATF Force North North Vietnamese Army and Viet Cong units to withdraw from their bunker positions, which were destroyed over the following days. Despite the loss of their jungle bases, the NVA and VC units in southern Long Can were quick to remind the Australians of their presence. On the 12th of June, a patrol of 3 APCs from 8-4 Independent Section, carrying a section of the Defence and Employment Platoon, of which Tebb was a member, was ambushed while patrolling a track along the western edge of Courtenay Rubber Plantation. Tebb had volunteered to go on patrol to replace the M60 machine gunner, who had gone home on leave the previous day. As the APCs travelled in single file along the road, an artillery illumination canister was spotted on the road. As the vehicles slowed, they came under small arms and rocket-propelled grenade fire. Tebb's section was sitting on top of the rear APC, call sign 84 Bravo. This vehicle received a direct hit from an RPG on the turret rim. The initial explosion caused around a dozen Claymore mines stored in an external storage bin to explode, causing catastrophic damage to the vehicle and those aboard. Tebb, 4 other members of the Defence and Employment Platoon, and the 2 APC crewmen were killed instantly. Another 3 men were severely wounded. 5 hours later, 3 Cavalry Regiment were subjected to an ambush and suffered 2 men wounded when their APC was hit by an RPG. Tebb's remains were returned to Australia and laid to rest in St George's General Cemetery, where they lie today under the epitaph, "As dawn draws nearer, God meant us all to meet again tomorrow." Peter Tebb was 20 years old. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my left, along with more than 500 others from the Vietnam War. His photograph is displayed today by the Pool of Reflection. This is but one of many stories of courage and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Peter Tebb, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Poziere or in the low scrub at Gallipoli with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the Director and staff, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support of the Memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening.